Hi everyone, I'm speaking at an event in Toronto on December 7th. Other speakers at this event include Dimes, otherwise known as Blood Satellite, and Dave the Distributist. To get tickets for this event, go to ontario.sealings.com. I can't wait to see you. Hello and welcome to my Kaiserreich Let's Play. History is a flat circle. Every 4 years, everyone gets collective amnesia and thinks that elections matter again. The failure to move beyond the paradigm of party politics bothers me because it demonstrates a lack of sufficient radicalization. Yet, the majority of all right-wing e-celebs still shill for populists as if the past 80 to 300 years never happened. This is because they are hollow puppet men. You can trust me though, because much like the Joker, I'm just like a Roomba, looking for crumbs. We are memed into supporting countries, politicians, and ideologies that will not benefit us in any way. We wanted change. What we got was nothing ever happens. In terms of content, this video is basically about nothing. But I won't let that stop me from making various provocative and unsubstantiated remarks. And now, in terms of actual content, this is my laziest year yet. I'm on vacation, and I'm finishing up my lazy vacation video. Don't judge the editing. I'm working on my Haswell ThinkPad in the woods. If any of you were wondering what my position on Third Worldism is, and if there is a possibility for a so-called Muslim-Christian alliance, allow me to explain. The existence of Israel is a psyop. It doesn't exist, never has. That's not a political statement. There's no war in Palestine either. The maps are all fake. The Dead Sea is way larger. Prove me wrong. You can't. I find it hard for there to be an alliance when one side has never expressed any desire for cooperation. It is a central tenet of Third Worldism to believe that Europeans are in a terminal condition. Mohammedans, the Chinese, and Russians are never going to reach out. No one is going to ally with a sick man, and that's exactly what the Third Worldists consider our race to be, a sick man. The Third Worldists defined their entire future on Russia, and now that Ukraine has won the second battle of Kursk, they've lost everything. It's a nightmare, some may say. Russia shills are so delusional, they have gone negative. It really do be like that. The fanatic Russia groids are so beyond saving that most people just don't engage with them. The only time we are forced to engage with them is with drones in Moscow. My strategy to deal with Third Worldists is to not. Never talk to anyone who disagrees. Debating is for the weak. The purpose of your enemies is to be eviscerated. Moreover, endless discussion is a way of keeping a tight, totalitarian lid on a populace that's ready for revolution. When I say, I don't care about what happens in the Middle East, what I mean by that is, don't bother me with this bullshit, for real. The only time I bring up the 9,000 KIA IDF super soldiers is to taunt tunnel dwellers and their acolytes known as evangelical Christians. Otherwise, I legit don't fucking care. When Bronze Age Hog Cranker says, I don't care, what he means is, I care deeply if you support the Arabs. He is incredibly invested in growing Israel to its natural borders between the Nile and Euphrates. In effect, he is a no-fun spurg doing the work that hardcore Petersonian-pilled Ziomaxers aren't. Why is the Bronze Age pervert doing this? Early life check. If you show any sympathy for brown people in the form of MGE edits, the Nietzschean vitalists will get so angry they will start pulling their hair out and all the blood vessels in their eyes will pop. No one else has this reaction. It's just BAP people. Not even self-proclaimed Israel fans get as salty as BAPists when you endorse TKD and D2A. Sorry, I just don't read Nietzsche. He's not simple or easy to read. His philosophy isn't very good. He's just not a very good writer unless you're comparing him to Costin Alamario. Nietzsche's analysis isn't really the right tool for any job. In any case, the vitalist clique will always be more popular than me. This is because the American dollar is 1.40 times as powerful as the Canadian dollar. I simply cannot afford a blue checkmark. Speaking of money, all previously mentioned internet Zio shills get big donations from American billionaires. History has been a long string of defeats for around 300 years. Our immense timeline of failure started in 1776, picked up in the French Revolution, and we were finished off in World War I and II. This was not destined to happen. The Bavarian army could have decided to not abandon the Schlieffen Plan and won the First Battle of the Marne. It doesn't matter how much we fail, the beatings will continue until morale improves. The left achieved these victories through developing their craft of video essays. The left-wing worldview is not obvious. It needed to be sold as a desirable project to own the chuds or something. If you want to fight the left, you need to learn political theory on your rest days. The reason the right loses all the time is that there are too many normgroids and not enough Gavrilo Princeps. Even today, a lot of rightoid chud-pilled movements are non-functional, meaning they do not do what they say they do. Big money has its hands in the right wing. Forgive me, Stalin, for I'm about to engage in factionalism. Again, insulting Mencius Lardbug. Peter Thiel is a deep state glow agent engaged with his husband in furnishing aids to the federal government. He and the mercenary warlord Eric Prince covertly and secretly work towards the establishment of a no-fun metaverse-style technocracy under the veil of populism. Regrettably, the situation in the West has developed to the point where a gay man is orchestrating and puppeteering the entire right wing. The weapons Palantir is developing are used in low-level psychological trauma warfare. I, myself, have been targeted by them. To be clear, I suffer from mood swings, obsessiveness, nerve strain, vacillation, psychosomatic illnesses, and escapism. This is all the fault of America. Teal is part of a cognitive elite that has risen to power as a new class of sovereign individuals redesigning governments to suit their ends. The Silicon Valley feudal class looks at life like Crusader Kings 2 and collects our data to analyze and manipulate us. Much like Crusader Kings 2, the Teal class is using our information to build a game to predict the future. As populism runs in direct opposition to ultra-monarchism, they seek today, as they did in 1914, to do away with us. Criminal Bolshevik goon cell freaks murdered Nicholas II, his wife, and 5 children. They hold complete contempt for you. To my very limited, gnome-like knowledge, everything surrounding Mencius Moldbug is astroturfed. If you don't know who Moldbug is, he is the leader of the Neo-Reactionary movement, abbreviated as NRX. When looking for NRX behavior, something to watch out for are infiltration operations. If someone is a public figure, they will surround that person in any role that assists in advancing NRX interest or causing chaos. Inevitably and eventually, the public figure gets negative attention from their actions. To counter this, the NRX make sure that they are there to pat them on the head, give them a kiss on the forehead, and a mug of hot cocoa and say, "Hey, buddy, it's okay. You're doing great. Keep going." For instance, Boris Johnson's assistant was Dominic Cummings, and they had the same relationship as I have described. Donald Trump is lustful, gluttonous, greedy, lazy, wrathful, impatient, arrogant, deceitful, craven, arbitrary, and paranoid. It's very rare to get someone in real life of all these traits. That's why even his wife hates him. That also makes him a good target to be co-opted by the NRX. All the mega cultists that Trump can muster is comparable to his military strength. In Crusader Kings 2, it is in the interest of the NRX to collect the data of each individual who has any power or influence. When Mencius Moldbug is looking at the size of the Nick Fuentes Mexican Fifth Columnist movement and the Baptist Nietzschean Neo-Pagan Vitalist Ubermensch, and then proceeds to engineer a conflict between the two, that is the equivalent of the King of Scotland engineering a conflict between 2 of his fiefdom lords so he can gain more power. The NRX benefits because that conflict is just a bread and circus distraction for the rest of the lords to support. If the NRX Teal Axis is able to collect data on all these people, they can run the simulation and see which conflicts they will benefit the most from. That is to say, the fake zitter drama between the Nietzschean super soldier A10 Aryans and the America First Mexicans is part of Moldbug's master plan. In order to start these conflicts, they use deep cover infiltration agents. They can do this whether the powerful person is aware of it or not. I have 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I'm basically kind of a big fucking deal. Randos, which I know to be from the Teal network, have approached me and fed me information to push me in a certain direction to distract me from pursuing the love of my life, life. If this predictive AI appears unrealistic, I would like to remind you that the majority of Silicon Valley tech companies make profits through selling information. The amount of data they have is more than sufficient to accurately assess and make decisions for power struggles. I believe we are already seeing its consequences today. The NRX are complete slaves to power. They have no ideological leaning. If, at some point, Peter Thiel's predictive AI becomes more powerful than humanity, the NRX will become slaves to the AI. The Thiel clique has effectively contained and butchered race realism and anti-democratic sentiments. It really resonated with me when Trump said in 2016,
"This entire system is basically fucking stupid. How embarrassing. No cap, for real, on God."
It's one of the most true things he ever said. Unfortunately, he has been captured by the same system. Zitter files are washed and unfunny and posting coal. 2016 was almost 10 years ago. Dude, I'm gonna cry. And nothing changed. 80 years of nothing ever fucking happening. In spite of that, populism is coming back in the soft soap of so-called multiracial working class populism. This is what JD Vance represents. Everyone who does not fit this egalitarian, technocratic, thinly veiled fetish mold are fed into wood chippers, all according to Moldbug's plan. If you couldn't tell by now, JD Vance's fetish is introducing a young Latina to the free marketplace of ideas. He wants to red pill her with Jordan Peterson and Dennis Prager videos. Imagine finding a beautiful, young, Nubian ebony queen and watching hours and hours of Prager University of her. Imagine finding a young, Native American woman and introducing her to the intellectual dark web. Vance has never met with Harris because he's scared there will be sexual tension. Get it? The joke is that he married a brown lady.
Brown lady.
The totalitarian state is putting the mask of 90s liberalism back on. If you disagree on this point, you need to update your firmware or something, I guess. Efficient, centrist rule is terrible, and the worst part about it is it can successfully contain czarist energy. My grotesque and ugly, cold-blooded, reptilian cryptid hag of a wife told me, "Don't worry and enjoy the high standard of living." Or something like that. The Aryan community of Christ must prevail over kosher nationalism. Unlike the Soviet Union, our geriatric octogenarian adrenochrome fiend elite were given the opportunity to change. At one point, Mikhail Gorbachev was trying to get banks to give loans to oil companies or something. An unknown Estonian told Gorbachev that he liked oil companies, and then Gorbachev said, "Yeah, well fuck Estonians. Oil companies won't be getting any loans now." In the same way, if you openly advocate for anything as a European, Mencius Moldbug will trick stab you. For any Curtis Yarvin fanatics, I just have one question. Why is it called the Cathedral and not the Synagogue? To be clear, if you have any faith in anyone operating in this system, I regret to inform you that you should try being less wrong. Peter Thiel and the so-called PMC Wagner Eric Prigozhin are hollow puppet men. Curtis Yarvin is different. He is Dark Elf. A global homo has decided that Natsok monarchism is highly problematic. Chuds. And now we're getting Curtis Yarvin's kosher managerial monarchism with the lampshades and hollow coasters. And guess what Yarvin's background is? He's got a big schnauzer. That is the sole reason he was allowed on Tucker Carlson, the heart of mainstream Discord.
I just have wanted to have you on because I think you're really interesting.
You know, my dad was a foreign service officer, which is, so I went around living in embassies and consulates around the world. I was kind of an international Jew, you could say. Actually, I always wanted like a lifetime subscription to International Jew magazine. Can't you see it? You know, but I'm a rootless cosmopolitan. So,
how about you, Mr. Ralph? I understand you're some kind of a rapist.
Actually, you mentioned ethics in gaming journalism. I don't know how much you know about me, but that's how I got my start, actually, with Gamergate.
And when you get your 23andMe, does it say cracker?
I haven't actually gotten one. Have you ever gotten one?
I did get one, and it confirmed that I was mostly what I thought I was.
because when I actually look at, you know, what the Vatican is, or in this case, the swamp, the deep state, as the cathedral, as I've sometimes called it, you know, the sort of the oligarchic power structure of America, which is completely decentralized. There is no center to it anywhere. There is no like they. There's no one you can point to. There's no race.
The way you regard this election, this protocol.
Wow, it's really our time, NRX bros. My prediction for the second term of Trump is that he will take executive power and reform the managerial system, all according to Moldbug's plan. NRX Dark Elves eating good tonight. It's amazing how casually crazy Moldbug can look even while trying to appear normal. The very grim part is the Teal Yarvan axis is most likely going to succeed. There isn't going to be a revolution anytime soon. The new liberal regime is going to channel Moldbug and own the chuds. I don't care about rhetoric, polls, journals, Esalevs, or anything except for the betting odds. This is mechanically the optimal decision-making process. The stock market is going up. There is no economic crisis, and we are more or less in the same position we were in 10 years ago. The market doesn't believe it, so why should I? If you believe it, why not go Uncle Ted mode? Skin in the game and all that. All my money is in commodities, equity, and T-bills. I'm so doomer-pilled that I think the general population will just accept the Teal Yarvan Vance axis, because that's how things work. The Peter Thiel network is going to expose the dark enlightenment to zoomies, NRX chuds having a glow-up. The so-called woke is no longer receiving big money, and its skeletons are just being projectiled out of the closet at high velocity. Most of the skeletons aren't even secret. Everyone is just so fucking done with everything. Every single one of their ideological pillars have been a massive failure in practice. Race egalitarians were wrong. They are delusional and their beliefs are baseless. The cognitive dissonance required to still defend DEI is getting to cultist levels. In preparation for a military conflict with the Eurasian powers, we are shifting to the right. Militarism and patriotism are highly problematic unless it's to maintain gay rights and debt slavery. It is no surprise that just when they are needed, right-wing intellectuals take center stage to sell you on the necessity of the United States confronting its enemies. I simply do not believe rules are real. They're essentially fictional. At this level of politics, everything becomes pure Kafka. The regime will do whatever it has the political will or capital to do. It will change the rules. It will go to court for years. It doesn't matter. There are no rules.
The English charm me with their smile, and yet they fail to find me. For my heart goes back to Erin's to the girl I left behind me.
We have been in a post-World War II paradigm for 80 years. I can't do 10 more years of this shit. It's gonna kill me. It's not specifically the Nuremberg ideology, it's the mind-rotting non-statements regime actors make while acting like everything is a hilarious joke. You will never get any politician to seriously answer a question, ever. That's simply not how they speak. 80 years of every single concern being responded to with something meaningless and smug, followed by a loud cackle. We don't give a fuck. You won't do shit. Deal with it. Pleb. Our shadow government is insidious in its propagandistic brainwashing. The picture of the Syrian child on the beach, you know the one, was the catalyst for Western Europe to become lost decade tier. Social democrats are pathetic, naive, and weak. Westoids have been routinely told that all the horrors implicated in mass immigration are alt-right lies. Many cold-blooded, reptilian, grotesque, cryptid sock dems still repeat this narrative they've been force-fed despite the plummeting quality of life. A global homo thinks the ignorant plebs are weak and stupid. They're right. They can give you a wrinkly puppet man as president. They can give billions to a shambolic, corrupt police state. They can lock us inside our homes for 2 years. They can even kill famous American journalist Gonzalo Lira or cattle. They throw a carrot on a stick in front of our faces in the form of Trump Vance 2024 and we'll run ourselves into the slaughterhouse. I am deeply annoyed by the fact that the Fediverse will never take off. Not everything has to become the biggest, and that's okay, but the plebs are not capable of leaving their walled gardens. They don't own computers, they have iPhones. They're one dropped phone away from losing access to their Gmail account forever. The idea that these people are going to hold, protect, and maintain cryptographic credentials like Nostra is pure fantasy. The idea itself practically destroys the chance at any solution revolving around decentralized identities. Note, I have been told by people in the know that this is wrong, and actually decentralized cryptographic credentials are already being implemented by big tech. The Fediverse is a cringe open protocol, which means it can be easily spammed, but because of the fact that Fedi is cringe and nobody actually cares about it, it faces little issue. If the cringe Fediverse were to actually become Zaced, the network would become much more militarized, like how email works in practice, with real-time blacklists, whitelists, and mail provider contact registrations. Email is hardly an open protocol if you don't like being instantly marked as spam. The semi-decentralized Layer 7 anti-DDoS stuff doesn't work for protocols like the Fediverse. And speaking of cringe, irrelevant, lost websites, the Kiwi Farms will never get mainstream recognition or success. The reason why is that it's an independent community on an internet that's becoming increasingly centralized, rendering the Kiwi Farms increasingly isolated. For the record, I explicitly avow the Kiwi Farms and all the actions taken by it previously, now, and into the future. Kiwi Farms, wow, what an incredible website. You know, I go to Kiwi Farms to look and to watch and see how Nick Rekieta fucked up his entire life. There was a thread on Kiwi Farms where the TERFs Josh panders to and secretly wants to date had a secret DM group where they talked about gooning and assaulting men. What the fuck? How do women goon men? Predatorial male feminists were also part of this group, to no one's surprise. This is what we call a what the Sigma moment. You can read the thread yourself. It is deeply disturbing that people like this exist among us, sort of like skinwalkers or aliens or cryptids or even Ralph. Joshua Coomer Troon suffers for our sins. He has to deal with insane TERFs all day to stop them from appearing in the real world. If you hate the Kiwi Farms for whichever reason, just know that you are wrong. The National Justice Party pretends that the Kiwi Farms has trans moderators. I assure you, the flag on Crunkler's profile is a Rust developer pride flag. If a Kiwi farmer sees this video, please do not harm my family. If I see malicious looking random strangers flashing Kiwi Farms gang symbols at me while I'm taking my daily commute on the NYC Metro, I would not appreciate that. I don't want to end up on LiveLeak. The Kiwi Farms basically needs to win in order for that website to stay up permanently. They need a real data center provider who will back the Kiwi Farms when it comes to deplatforming campaigns. The current method of hosting Kiwi Farms is incompatible with other types of network protocols. The lack of net neutrality is The lack of net neutrality is preventing Josh from securing the necessary hosting. The task of keeping the Kiwi Farms up is much like the tale of Sisyphus. Once the site is re-established on the clear web, it always gets taken down. One must imagine Joshua Connor Moon happy. I think some people will watch this video and say, geez, aren't you being too hard on people who agree with you on 99% of issues? No. I only have two types of friends. Canadians who love Canada to the point of contempt and loathing for other countries and nations, and my ultra-monarchist comrades in other countries who want D2A. The one commonality shared by everyone I attacked in this video is that they are all pro-United States. As the late and great Carl Schmitt said, they are enemies. I love how Joe Biden ruined America. I'm the CEO of Joe Biden's fan club. I'm a borderline Joe Biden cult member. If you're a United Station watching this video, let your country die already. Harris is the fastest path towards that. A Russian cosmist will call me a DNC plant. Okay, so what if I am? I'm a Nietzschean vitalist neo-pagan, so I can do whatever I want because I believe in master morality. I swear, after this video, I'm never gonna edit another video again. Editing fucking sucks. Now you're getting 2-hour long, what if alt hist quality video essays. I hope you're happy.